When Alton Brown said, everything in food is science, the only subjective part is when we eat it. We could not agree more to that. So if you also abide by the same, and if you also want to know about by the same, you have come to the right place. So hello and welcome. This is Himanshi Kaushik, your host of the day, and I would like to welcome you all in today's webinar on food toxicology, major emphasis on food processing and food packaging. And I hope that you all are safe, sound, and happy at wherever you're taking this webinar from. So before we move on and learn a lot more about food technology, today in the session, we have our expert here. We have Dr. Prince Chawla who has joined us. And so I shall introduce you to our expert. Dr. Chawla joined Lovely Professional University as an assistant professor in Department of Food Technology and Nutrition, and he is an alumnus of Chaudhary Devilal University, Sirsa, and Shulini University. He has a chief interest in plant-based polysaccharides, mineral fortification, functional foods, protein modifications, food safety, and the detection of toxicants from food using nanotechnology. He has worked on Department of Biotechnology and Department of Science and Technology funded research projects at National Dairy Research Institute, Karnal, Haryana, and has 8 years of research experience, and he has 3 patents, 5 books, 80 international research articles, and 12 international book chapters as well. Dr. Chawla is guiding 4 PhD students and has guided 22 MSc students. He is also a lifetime member of Association of Food Scientists and Technologists India and a lead editor of special issue of Foods, that is ISSN 23048158, and Food Quality. He is a recognized reviewer of more than 30 international journals and reviewed several research and review articles till now. So, sir, it is a pleasure for us to be here, and I heartily welcome you in the webinar. And over to you, sir. Looking forward for an amazing session.
Thank you for that warm welcome, ma'am. So, I'm going to start today's webinar, a very important topic which is related to the food toxicity. We are totally aware that food is the lifeline of the human beings, and we eat every day numerous type of the foods based upon our choices, based upon our taste. But there is one thing that we are ignoring actually, which is more important to discuss, which is more important to elaborate among our neighborhood, among our families, which is the toxicity. The food we are preparing at home, obviously we are using certain processing in that. We are heating the food, we are cooking the food, we are always using certain technologies to make that food which is edible to us. But are we taking care of the toxicity while preparing the food? The answer is no. Because actually we are not aware about the toxic compounds which we are actually formulating with the food. Or we can say that naturally they are occurring, or naturally they are formulating with the food. When we are cooking, when we are even heating the food, so all these process can introduce some of the toxic materials within the food system, and unknowingly we are consuming that food ingredients with that. So we are fond of so many things. Specifically, we are fond of grilled foods. We are fond of so many tandoori flavored products, right? And we are totally aware about, yes, these are the components, these are the foods which are most preferable nowadays. Even the fried foods, right? So these foods are actually the carrier of the toxin. I am not against these foods, but I am saying that when we are not focusing on the perfect processing, so these components can be formulating with the food. So our today's topic is most importantly focused on the toxic compounds which are being formulating within the food system when we are cooking the food, when we are frying the food, or when we are heating the food. As well, we are going to talk about some of the packaging stuffs. We know that packaging is the direct contact material of the food products. And nowadays, you also heard about the microplastics, which is the major concern in our human health perspective. and that microplastics are actually invading in our food system due to the packaging only. So here we are going to discuss about that these processing as well as the packaging that can introduce some of the toxic materials within the food system, which we should avoid every time, right? So the food processing means we are heating the food, we are cooking the food, and we are actually frying the food. Just take an example, that potato. Potato, when we are heating the food, it is converting itself into the brown, right? And when we are frying, again, it is converting itself into the brown. So every heating treatment, when we are giving to the potato, it is converting itself into the brown. So now we know that potato is the very famous thing and which is converted into various mouth-watering food products like French fries, chips. So all these stuffs are made up of potato only. But do you think that, or we are focused on that thing, that when we are heating, when we are frying to make that potato or converting that potato into chips, so it is also formulating some of the toxic material, right? So we need to focus on that actually, and nobody is discussing about this, as these toxic materials are formulating with the food. They can be carcinogenic in nature, or they can be neurotoxic to us, right? Even chapatis, even parathas, even the tandoori products, grilled products, smoky products, these are the carrier of some of the toxic materials. Now you will say, sir, if these are the toxic materials and these are being formulated with the food, so how we can get rid of all these materials? So answer is clear cut, that we need to focus on perfect timings of the processing. If you focus on the French fries, which is given by the McD, so that are not brown in color, but when you are frying the potatoes at home, so they are converting into the brown color. So reason is clear, that they are making the product golden color and we are making the color brown in color. So this is the reason that we are actually introducing excessive heat. We are not controlling that process, right? But we are introducing toxic material into the food. But MACD is knowing this concept, that if we are going towards the more brown, that means toxicity is now introduced. We cannot control that, because that is inherent properties of the food and which is existing in the food. And due to heating, this is the outcome of the heat actually, that when we are heating, it is naturally going to be produced. But the golden color is the appropriate color which is given to the food and which is actually more relevant for the consumption. So these things we need to take care of whenever we go for the processing of the food materials. So that brown color is actually what? The Maillard reaction. In the food science and technology, every food material, if we are roasting wheat flour, halwa banana hai, if we are roasting that, so that is going to convert into the brown color. So obviously that is what? Maillard reaction. Every chocolate, every dark chocolate, every coffee, these are brown in color. So they are due to the browning reactions, right? When we are cutting the apple, it is converting itself into the brown. So that is a kind of browning reaction. So Maillard reaction is due to heat. When we are giving heat to the product, so due to the presence of amino acid, that is a protein, and some carbohydrates or some sugars and the water, it is going to convert into the brown color. So that is a natural process which is actually happening in the food stuff, right? So Maillard reaction, if we are not controlling that properly, so it is going to be mutagenesis or the carcinogen. Mutagenesis means that having the tendency to alter our genes, that having the tendency to cause the cancer in the body, right? So almost smoky flavor, which is coming in the food, that is due to the Maillard reaction. So Maillard reaction is actually one of the basic things that we always deal in the food science and technology, or to be precise, it can be the part of the food chemistry, because when the protein, sugar, heating, obviously brown color, right? So every food, even you are thinking about any food, so they are composed of what? Proteins and the carbohydrates. So obviously these food materials can be the reason for the browning reactions. So this is the part, that caramelization, every food material which is coming in your mind, which having the brown color, reason is clear, Maillard. Either it is the dairy product, either it is the cereal based product, either it is the meat based product, either it is the beverage, any product which having brown color, so that is having browning reaction or the Maillard reaction. So some of the byproducts means after reaction, some of the compounds are being formulated. So these are responsible for the mutagenesis and the carcinogenic nature. So in your slides, you are capable to see something browning of the bread into the toast. Obviously, when we are making toast, we need toaster for that. And that toaster means it is converting white bread into the brown color, some brown color strips we can see on the surface of the bread. So that is due to the Maillard reaction, because bread is composed of what? Proteins and the sugars. Obviously, water is there. So all these three, and we are giving heat. So they are converting themselves into the Maillard reactions. No doubt, Maillard is giving flavor to the product, and which is mouth-watering also, and it is desirable also. But up to which extent we need to heat our product that we are having the flavors or we are having the carcinogenic compound. So this is the science of the food toxicology that we are dealing with right now, that we are discussing actually, that I already revealed this thing, that a perfect timing is necessary, is required to make the product very much suitable for the consumption, right? So there is one more compound which is also produced during the processing, that is acrylamide. I have given you the example of the potato chips or the French fries. So they are the natural carrier of the acrylamide. There is one condition, that amino acid plus starch and temperature over 120 degrees Celsius that is required for the acrylamide production. So obviously protein parts are responsible for that, not only the proteins, some of the starchy material, some of the carbohydrate material are also responsible for that. So again, acrylamide is producing during what? The cooking, frying, roasting or baking. And these are the most desirable processing things that we are giving to the food. What we are doing actually, that okay, we having chapati, now we need to heat that again. So if we are going to heat that again, so there are chances of that again, the reaction is happening. And some dark spots are appearing more on the surface of the chapati. So that dark surface, that dark spot is actually due to the Maillard, and now it is carcinogenic. Even the paratha is the most famous thing in North India. Even tandoori rotis, naan, all these stuffs are very much famous. But if we are not taking care properly, so that is converting themselves into the some of the toxic materials, right? And one of the toxic material is acrylamide also. After Maillard, or we can say that acrylamide kind of the Maillard outcome actually. So in this case, we can discuss that only three things are required: amino acid, starch, and the heating, right? So these are converting what? The components into the acrylamide. So this is one of the responsible amino acid, that is asparagine. If you are aware about the amino acid, which are the major part of the proteins that are also known as the essentials or the non-essential amino acids. So they are also taking part in the reaction. So we cannot avoid this thing. Again, I'm saying this thing, that we cannot avoid, because proteins are the integral part of the food. Potato is the carrier of starch, potato is the carrier of protein, potato is the carrier of the water. So all these components are naturally existing, but when we are treating that with the heat, now we are making acrylamide. So obviously for frying purpose, for cooking purpose, we do require higher temperatures. Then only we are having that product in the final form that we can eat. So even burgers, noodles, any food which is coming in our mind, so they are the carrier of the starch. They may contain proteins, they may contain some sugars, and heating or the frying is resulting into the formulation of what? Acrylamide. So this is very common thing, starchy food, 120 degrees Celsius, acrylamide. So there is some properties of the acrylamide also, that it is, if we isolate acrylamides from the food, so that is crystalline solid, highly soluble in water and some of the organic solvents based upon the polarity, and they having a very low molecular weight, that is 71.08 Daltons, sorry, high molecular weight, 71.08 Dalton. and low melting point, that is 85 degrees Celsius. So they're having certain other names also. And two pathways are responsible for what? Acrylamide formulation. When we discuss that major and minor pathways, that Maillard reaction is actually responsible for what? The acrylamide formulation. So not only the acrylamide is formulating in the food materials, some of the other food additives, so some of the food colors are also being produced. And you can see in that slide as well that almost every food is favorable to us. French fries, cookies, roasted almonds, breads, potato chips, coffee beans, grilled products, baby food, dried fruits. So that color is due to what? Acrylamide. Or we can say that is due to the Maillard reaction. Here we can see that bread, that image, if it is visible to you, that some bread having some brown strips, but second bread having more darker color of the tone. So that is more susceptible for the acrylamide. And we can say that more acrylamide or more intense browning reaction is happened in the food materials, right? So now bakery items, cakes, biscuit, cookies, wafers, everything is baked at higher temperatures, and more than 150 degrees Celsius temperature is required for the formulations of the cookies or the biscuits or the bakery items. So in that case, we need to take care of the temperature conditions. We need to control that. We need to use such additives so that acrylamide formulation should be avoided. So acrylamides are carcinogenic, neurotoxic, genotoxic, and hormonal imbalances. Right. So these are some of the problems associated with the high consumptions of the acrylamide. Nowadays, if you are aware about some problems that some people having much more hormonal imbalance, so that is due to the food only, that we are having more acrylamide with the food, so we may face some of the hormonal imbalance conditions as well. So this is the pathway actually that is responsible for the acrylamide toxicity in our food, and obviously brain functionality is there, and some of the receptor sites are also there. So we are not going to discuss that much in detail, but yes, we should aware about that every component of the body is functioning in the response of the toxicity action of the acrylamides. So some of the strategies that we can use to reduce the acrylamide in the food, I already revealed that. Go for the golden, that is much more demanding things nowadays, that we should avoid some of the brown colored foods which are more grilled, which are more, you can have smoky flavors, which may have some of the more tandoori components. We should avoid the food bloggers which are actually exploring these kind of the food material. We should not follow them because they are not discussing about the toxicity. Actually, they are just focused on the some of the taste things, some of other things. So we should avoid all these stuff. Yes, wisely we select our food materials. Wisely we should eat the food materials, and we can avoid the carcinogenic components from the food wisely if we are selecting all these. And one of the important thing is antioxidants. So antioxidants are the compounds which are actually squelching or reducing the acrylamides or removing the acrylamides from our body. Right? So antioxidant sources, we can have the fruits and veggies. They are the good source of the antioxidants. We can have the dark color fruits, which are the good source of the anthocyanin, like berries, like grapes, right? Or we can have any seasonal fruit, which is rich source of the antioxidant. So we may get rid from these kind of the problems, right? So some of the other components are also there, which are responsible for production of toxic material. And none of the important compound is benzene. So other than acrylamide, benzene is also formulating with the food products. Benzene is due to the benzene is actually existing in almost every smoke, every type of the smoke which is being released in the environment. Either it is vehicles exhausting, either it is the burning of the wood, anything which is burning that may release benzene. So 99% of the benzene which is reaching in the human body, that is due to the inhalation process, right? So smoking, obviously that is the direct inhalation of the benzene, right? Some of the agencies revealed some of the recommended intake of the benzene, but nowadays if I say that this much of the polluted environment, so that is very much difficult to say that how much benzene we can tolerate, right? And this is also the reason of the lung toxicity, that when we are moving outside and we see some smoke and we feel some uneasiness, so that uneasiness due to the lungs, because our lungs are not meant for the smoke. Our lungs are only requiring oxygen, right? So obviously our body parts are so smartly designed that if something else is reaching in that body part, so that can cause toxicity, that can cause some harmful effects. So benzene is one of the top 20 toxic material which is existing in the food, and it is colorless to light yellow color. So these are some of the properties of the benzene, and if you are belonging to the chemistry background, you must know about the benzene. A very special structure is given to the benzene, that ring like structure, and if you are from chemistry background, if you studied chemistry, so you can have that knowledge also, right? So again, the same thing, smoking, roasting, iron, radiations. Radiation is what? Microwave. We are using microwave at home. So that can also cause some of the problems which are related to the benzene formulations. So not only the benzene, there are certain other components are also furans, right? And these are the acute effects of the benzene: narcosis, headache, dizziness, drowsiness, confusion, loss of the consciousness. So if we discuss about all these compounds like benzene-like structure, so these are heterocyclic compounds, right? Furans, this is also the kind of Maillard outcome within the food. And it is also responsible for the flavor of coffee, cocoa-based product, even chocolates, dark chocolates, right? So they are also the carrier of the furans. They are also the carrier of the benzenes. They are also the carrier of the acrylamides. The reason is clear, that if we are not controlling all these mechanisms, these processings, so it is going to formulate within the foodstuffs. So some of the vitamins are also responsible for the furans. If we are not taking food properly, or if we are having some bad habits to consume the food, so that can also cause some of the formulations of the furans. For example, ascorbic acid. Ascorbic acid is vitamin C, which is water soluble, and it is existing in almost every food material where is the water more in content. So that ascorbic acid can also decompose into the furans if we are not taking care of the food product processing properly, right? So other than that, we having some of the polycyclic hydrocarbons. These are the chemistry based compounds, but yes, these are the compounds which always formulating during the smoking process, during the food cooking, right? So these are the woods. Obviously, some of the, if you are aware about the smoky flavors, everybody is now focused on that smoky, some tandoori flavors. So woods are actually responsible, because woods are carrying certain compounds when they are burning. So they are releasing that compounds within the food materials. And after release of these compounds, and these are the examples of the wood which are actually used for the smoking purpose: hickory, oak, cherry, walnut, chestnut, apple, elder, mesquite, wood from the citrus trees. Or if these kind of the woods are not available, so other sources can also be used to produce the smoke, like teas, stems, whole spices, right? Corn husk, fruit peels, any of the woody part which is capable to burn, which is capable to release the smoke, that can be used. So now our next point, which is more important in case of the today's scenario, that is the packaging. So packaging is the most important thing of the food, and this is the only thing which is attracting the consumers towards the food products. right? If the packaging is suitable, packaging appropriate, so children or any of the person can attract towards the food material. See, I am always giving one example that sweets, sweets are covering with some edible uh, that silver, right? So people are attracting more towards that. Then now that sweet is now packed into a very nice appealing or nice type of the packaging material. So people are attracting towards that. Or every year, if you are observing, almost the big brands of the food, they are changing their packaging stuffs. You can see the change in the bottles. You can see the change in the color of the packets of the chips. So reason is clear that they are attracting the poor. They are using some vibrant color, some fluorescence based color. So they are actually attracting the persons, they are attracting the consumers. But there is one clear cut thing that packaging is made up of some plastics, that materials are made up of some metallic components, or that materials are made up of some wood based or paper based materials. But these materials also having interaction with the food. Because if we see the pouch of milk, so milk and that pouch, there is no other component. So that pouch packaging material may have interaction with the milk, or that pouch packaging residues, because that pouch is actually plastic, and that small size of the components from that pouch can invade into the food materials, can invade into the milk, right? So now with that is reaching directly in our body. If it is reaching in our body, that means our body is now carrier of some of the micro size, some of the very small size plastic based material, which is not meant for human body. If you uh, if you are reading the newspapers, if you are reading the some global news, one study was conducted by some of the UK based scientists, and they revealed some important information regarding the seafoods. Fish, lobster, prawns, all these are known as the seafoods. And we know that every packaging or every plastic is now nowadays dumped into the oceans or the seas, right? So all the fish, all the seafoods are consuming some part of that plastic, and now their body composition is having what? Plastic. 0.3 to 3% body composition is now the carrier of the plastic. Means this is kind of evolution in the fish or evolution of the sea animals, that their body is, instead of muscles, now they're having some plastic based materials. Muscles are also there, but now this is combination of what? Muscle plus plastic. So this new kind of thing is very dangerous to us if we are consuming the seafood more, and much more waste materials are being dumped into the oceans or the seas. So it is very dangerous. So this is the kind of the migration. This is known as the migration of the packaging residues into the food material, or this is the kind of exchange. Means your uh, vital components of the food can also be exchanged towards the packaging material or the unwanted material of the packaging. So this is very much problematic thing in the local foods. The companies which are manufacturing the foods, or we can say that branded foods, they may have less problems because they are also having certain research and development on the packaging stuffs. But what if the local bakery, what if the local manufacturers, what if uh, the local food manufacturers, so they are not using appropriate packaging material? And there is one more problem, that they are putting one slip in their packet and they are having some ink based stamp, right? And that stamp is now spreaded over the food surface and we are having that food. There is one more problem, newspaper. In India, almost every city, people are using newspaper as the packaging stuff of the food. If you are eating batura, that batura wala is giving you newspaper. We are using it. Instead of any paper, we are using newspaper. If you are eating some bhel puri, some street food items, so you are having newspaper. Do you think that newspaper having certain ink, newspaper having certain other materials, so is that suitable for the consumption? Never. Because newspaper is going to clearly invade that toxic ink into the food materials, and we are having that food. Unknowingly, we are eating that kind of the food. So this point is actually the migration, the permeation, absorption of the food materials and the invade of the packaging materials into the food system, right? So these are certain types which we are discussing, that the process may happen, either the absorption process may happen, either the migration, transportation, that depends upon the type of the packaging material, like the polarity, temperature, environmental conditions, then what kind of the food is there, right? So all these things are actually responsible for what? The movement of the packaging stuffs into the food. So many other responsible component is there. Heat. If you keenly observe, suppose you are moving on highway, right? And in India we know that dhaba food, that local restaurants, or we can say that dhaba, that are very famous, and almost on every place there are certain famous dhaba. But if you keenly observe one thing, that they are keeping chips, cold drinks outside, right? And they are directly in sunlight. That is not a good practice, right? Food manufacturers never say that we should keep their products just outside the sunlight, in the bright sunlight. They always suggest that please keep that food materials under the dark conditions, or should be avoided directly from the sunlight, right? So these things are very much dangerous, because ultimately we are the consumers and we are the sufferers also. We are paying money, we are eating food, and still we are having the problems. So ultimately we are what? Sufferers, right? So with this note, I would like to say that we should avoid these kind of the activities at home, and we should go for the golden things, and which is necessary thing for us. And we should avoid the local food stuff. I'm directly saying we should avoid these kind of the food stuffs which are having some of the packaging material which are directly in the contact of the food stuffs, right? So with this note, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. First of all, thank you so much for the presentation that you've given, sir. Thank you so much for this insightful and informative presentation. And I believe all the participants and me also must have I got an idea of what to eat now and what not to, and where to choose things from. And all the things that are, I think, that are made for shosha are not healthy for us. So I hope that all the participants know now that we need to curb eating fast food now, so that we can stay healthy. So thank you, sir, for crediting your time coming in, for giving your experience, knowledge. Thank you so much.
Okay. So
Yeah, sir, we have certain few questions from our students.
please,
If,
please.
okay, so we got this question from Ishani Hilal, and it says, what are the possible career paths or job opportunities for students in food technology?
Great. What the name of the student is? Ishani?
Ishani Hilal, yeah.
Okay. We having so many opportunities. We having opportunities in the private sector as well as in the government sector. And food technologists, just think about the pandemic, right? In the pandemic, there was one point that we were moving for the food, specifically the packaged food. सब गए थे मैगी उठा के ले आए घर, चिप्स उठा के ले आए घर, सब. And in that time also, the food industries were working,
Yes.
right? We never had the problem of the food during that time. That was the very bad time for us. So this is one point that which is very much clear to us, that food industries are running in any conditions. And obviously we are the people, and they are requiring the people like us that they having the knowledge of the food science. So this is one point. Second, the food analysis that we are discussing, actually Maggie was banned. Maggie was banned due to some of the toxic materials, and this is number one brand in global level, and which was banned. Reason that they are having much more amount of the lead. And so who revealed this information? Obviously the food analyst. So FSSAI, that is the Food Safety Standard Authority of India, Ministry of the Food Processing. Then we having the FCI, we having certain other ministries in India that are giving us the opportunity for the government jobs, right? So government jobs as well as the private sector, we are totally open for every kind of the job opportunities. We having multiple brands, PepsiCo, Coke, Nestle, Cadbury, unlimited brands are there. We are who are hiring the people like us.
Yeah. Definitely, sir, and I agree with the what you said, that food is never gonna end. I think it will only end when the world ends, and hence
Exactly.
the
Exactly.
hence the career opportunities in food technology would, I think it may have some branches that can go like from some branch to some branch, but it would never ever end. So I think yeah, so what you've said is I totally agree to that. Sir, we have another question that came. I think it is kind of related because you gave an explanation. So I just want to take this question up. So, is it possible for any other student who has done bioscience or biotechnology, other than food technology, go into FSSAI and FCI? I mean, basically, here this question was about in food technology, food career options. So I just molded it into all the career opportunities in food tech.
There is one thing, that is the job of food inspector.
Yeah.
That is open for every graduate. Doesn't matter that people having the food degree or not, but yes, some states having this, you can say, amendment now, that they are now hiring the food technologist, right? Yes, in FCI, people from any background, they can get the opportunity for the job. In NABARD, in every food related agri business. So here in MBA person, here in the biotechnology person, microbiologist, because food technology itself is an interdisciplinary subject. We having chemistry, we having physics, we having what, we having microbiology, we having so many things in the food science. So we are open for everyone, right? For admission purpose also, that student having medical degree, non-medical in the graduation, so they can take admission in the MSc Food Science and Technology. So there is no problem in this case.
Okay, thank you, sir. So this question was actually from West. So I hope West, you have got the answer that you wanted and your query is resolved now. Sir, we have another question. It is from Radha Sharma, and it says, "Are yes, sir. It says, are there any research or internship opportunities available for students?"
Exactly, we having totally research-based plans, specifically our masters and the graduation degrees. We having capstone projects for the students, and we having dissertation for the master's degree. And we are more focused towards the publications. We are more focused towards the quality research, right? So obviously, in graduation as well as in masters, we having that plannings for the students from the beginning of the semester. Students are having interaction with the respective supervisors or the guides, and that is converting all the things in the fruitful research outcomes.
Yeah, definitely, sir, and I agree. So, Radha, you may visit the campus and can see what all achievements our students are doing, what all researches are already happening in food technology, if I talk about specifically. And if you may like, then you can take admission as well. So, sir, with this, we have our last question. It came from Sequeria. I think some name, Sequeria is the name. And it says, are there any laws that check the food safety?
Yes, Food Safety Standard Authority of India, they are having multiple laws. Earlier then, we were having so many laws regarding milk product orders, fruit product orders, and then meat product orders. Now they are merged into one law, that is FSSAI regulations. And we are having some models of the international levels, not only the national levels, we are also following some of the international guidelines like Codex Alimentarius, ISOs. So all these we are focused on, and we are implementing well on the food stuffs. If you are keenly observe any food packaging stuff, so FSSAI license
Yeah.
number is mandatory.
Yes. Yes.
Then nowadays, if you check the food, now they are giving that 0.16 rupees per ml. Then that marking of the vegan foods, non-vegan
Yes.
foods. So
Yes.
everything is regulated by Food Safety Authority of the India. So definitely we having laws, we having all the ministries, and obviously FSSAI having some punishments if they are violating all the rules and regulations.
Yes, definitely, sir. Thank you so much then, sir, for resolving the queries, for coming in here, for giving your time, crediting your time. Sir, if you permit me, can I take up some admission queries here and show them a little about site and the admission process, how they can go with that?
Sure, yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay.
Absolutely.
So for the admission queries, I will be just sharing my screen here. Just in a moment. Yeah, so I believe my screen is visible to all. So basically the one short resolution for every admission queries, that's lpu.in site. So once you click on this site, this will be the interface that will be in front of you, right? So basically these are the highlights of the university. They might have happened, they might are happening at present, or they might happen in the near future. So I would request you to kindly explore the site, and I promise that you won't regret it. Now, we're catering about admissions here. So we just click on admission. And once we click on the admissions, we have all the segregated programs that are very beautifully adjusted here. You can see after 12th, after graduation, after postgrad, after 10th, doctoral diploma, and various other programs as well. So let's take an example of, I'm assuming you are somebody who has done your 12th grade and wants to take an undergrad program, right? So you go to after 12th undergraduate program and regular programs. Simply once you click on the regular programs, there will be a whole lot of disciplines that would be visible in front of you. You can see all the disciplines. You name any of the discipline and we have it here. You can see engineering, management, law, pharmaceutical sciences, architecture, planning, food technology. So since we were talking a lot about food technology today, so why not take an example of the same? So I just click on the food technology and we have a program that is offered under that particular discipline. So once I click on that program, we will be getting all the details of the particular program. You can see program details, highlights, curriculum. So in next 1 minute, I'll be briefing them all. So program details would actually give you your eligibility criteria, whether you're eligible for a particular course or not. That will be known from this program detail. Here you can see that you have to have at least 60% in your 10+2, that is your 12th grade, and some mandatory subjects should have been there. And along with that, you need to have LPU Nest or CUET qualified so that you can take part in the particular course. Now there are other conditions as well and certain relaxations, so you need to just check it and apply for the course. Now the highlight option, we were having a lot of questions about the research and placements. So this is where you find it out. Highlight, once you click on this highlight option, this is the placement where you can just check what all placements our students are getting, and the researches, what all researches are happening, what all patents we have done, and how many other things are happening. After that, we have rankings as well in the highlights section. Now is the curriculum. This will give you all the details of the topics you're going to be learning in your next 3 years, 4 years program. And all the topics are detailed and you know in which term, in which year, what are you going to learn. And I think that will help you to make a disciplined decision whether you want to go forward with a particular course or not. Because you know that you will be getting taught this and you will be learning this. So you can actually have a pretty good idea of whether you want to go or not in the particular course. Now is the fee structure that's very important for the student, and it is 80,000 per semester. But again, this is not something that our students usually pay. Why? Because they get a lot of scholarships. And on what basis? You can see that we have other scholarships that are categorized in 3 cutoffs, like category 1, 2, and 3. And based on that, you can avail up to 48% of program fee waiver, and your program fee can be reduced to 41,600. So for this, you need to either have at least 95% or above in your 12th grade or LPU score. So basically, there is this hyperlink. Once you click on that, you will be actually getting all the tentative cutoffs in the test that you need to have so that you can avail a percent scholarship. Now I will be telling you how you can actually, okay, there are other scholarships as well. For example, you were not able to get these scholarships, don't be sad, we have other scholarships as well. Scholarships on the basis of NEET and financial aids and other special scholarships as well. So important date, I will be just going to the important date. Here is the 10th June. So I think it's just tomorrow only. I would urge you and request you to kindly apply for the course so that you get whatever course you want and your first preference would be given to you. Now is simple thing is how you can apply. Simply click on apply now option, and there are some bare minimum requirements that will be asked, your name, gender, etc. And then you click on submit, and after that you will be given your dashboard, and from there you can simply apply for the LPU Nest score. So this LPU Nest test is basically a test that does not only give you eligibility but the scholarship as well. So kindly prepare for the test and give the test. So now I think I've given you a brief as to how you can take part in an admission, how you can apply for the admission. And if I could not address anything, you may write in the chat box or you can schedule a call You can either WhatsApp us or have a live video counseling session as well. So these are options that are available on site only. And last but not the least are the numbers, the telecaller numbers basically. So these, once you call in these numbers, our counselors will be here to provide their assistance and hence resolving the queries. So I hope that I have given all the details as to how you can take part in the course and what you need to do. So now I would take permission from sir to wrap this webinar up, sir. Can I? Okay. So thank you so much, sir, for coming in, for giving your time, for giving your experience and knowledge to us. Thank you so much to all the participants as well for coming in here and for waiting this long for 1 hour now. And all the questions you've given us are really, really appreciated. So we have other webinars already planned that are coming in the next days. So you can check our website, that is lpu.in. And until next webinar, stay safe and stay healthy. And thank you so much for joining me.
And thank you so much for your time also.
The pleasure is mine, sir.